So in most professional environments, doing this wouldn't be enough. We would need to add some tests onto there just to see if the components are functioning and working as they are supposed to. So what we are going to do is create some tests for each of our components. First off, I'm going to go on to the author component and create a new folder in here and name it _tests _ so we can differentiate it. And then in here, I'm going to name the file author.test.js. So when it's a test file, we just add the .test after the component name. That should work correctly. And then what I want to do is in my terminal, I want to do npm test and press enter. So now we are in running tests and we have found a test file that's already failing. So if I go into my app.test.js, here we have a link element. So what we are doing essentially is we are rendering the app component, and then on here we are getting the text learn React, which is what is installed when we install npx create react app. So the text learn React, it renders that and expects it to be in the document. So at the minute it's not in the document. So what I'm going to do is if I go into app.js, I have this text named welcome to the to-do app at the top. So all I'm going to do is get that text and paste that in. So this means that the /welcome to the to-do app /I means case insensitive. So it could be upper and lower case. It doesn't really matter. It will render the app component correctly. So this is the test name correctly. And this time we expect the element to be in the document, but I'm just going to name this title like so. Now if I save, we have one passed test, which is this one here, and one failed test, which will be in the author test.js file, which we have just created. So I'm just going to copy this and paste this in here and close this one off and the app one off. So instead of rendering the app now, we need to render the author component. So import author from ... like so, or you could do ... /index. And then we want to render the author component like so. This is nice and easy, this one. So it renders author component correctly. The reason it is easy is because we are not passing any props down and we are just testing the text on here. So what we want to do is I'm going to check for the website link to make sure that's working correctly. So instead of title, I'm going to name this one website link. So we are going to look at the screen. So we have access to a screen and we're going to get by text, and the text we are going to get is Imran codes. But another hack that I use is screen.debug, which renders what is showing up on the app or what Jest and React testing library are seeing. So because I have done screen.debug, I now have what is rendering from this author component here. So now all I want to do is test the website link. So if I get by text Imran codes like so, paste that in here, I now have access to the website link. I want to expect website link to be in the document. So if I save, this test has now passed. I also want to check that the href is correct also. So now what I want to do is I want to expect that the website link, so there's a lot of methods that we can pass on Jest and React testing library. So essentially we want to test that it has to have attribute, and we want to check the href on this as the first argument, and then we want to pass in the URL that is being passed, so this one. So expect the website link to have the attribute of the href as imrancodes.com. If I now save, the test will run. So that's passed. If I was to remove a character and then run it, it would fail. It's here, it says expected element have attribute HTTP, but it received the Imran code with an A. So if I just add the A on to here, now save like so. And then the final thing I want to add is expect the website link dot to have style, and this will have the style of pointer because we added that style in onto the A tag. Now if I save, this should also pass, which is correct. So now the author component is rendering correctly. All we need to do is add further tests for the form. So new folder underscore test underscore enter new file here. So this one will be form.test.js. And then if I just paste in what I already have, and I'm going to change these to form. So it's going up a level into the index like so. Close this off. And now with the form, I have an input, a set input, and an add to do. So this is where we need to pass down the props. So form. So to pass down props, all you do is pass them in like so. And first off, the input that I'm going to pass is going to be equal to an empty string. So essentially what we are doing is mimicking what we would normally pass down into the component. So set input is going to be equal, and I'll just put it up here. I'm going to create some variables. So const set input prop, which is equal to jest.fn. So essentially this is just mimicking a function with jest, and we're going to do the same for the add to do. So add to prop. So set input is equal to set input prop, and then the add to do is going to be equal to the add to do prop. So, and if I save, and I also want to screen.debug here because website link is not within this component, but we do have an add button. So what I want to test is I want to test if the input has a correct initial value. So essentially it should be empty. So now I'm going to get the input. So const input is equal to screen.getBy, and you have a lot of options here to choose from, and I'm going to choose get by role because we defined that earlier. So the input role is input. So screen.getBy role of input like so. So now we have access to the input. So now what do I expect from this input? So expect the input dot value. So expect the input value to be an empty string. So if I save that, it is an empty string. So as you can see, because you're rendering the form component here, it is an empty string. And all we want to do is copy this, paste this in, and change the value to hello. And now this test will fail because the input value is not hello, it is an empty string. So all we want to do to check if it shouldn't be this is add a dot not in there. So now we have tested the input field. We also want to do the same for the button. So button works correctly, and this is what we're going to do first off is access the button. So const button or btn is equal to screen.get by text this time because we can get it by the add text. Screen.get by text of case sensitive again, so add, and then all we want to check for is expect the btn to be in the document. So now we have 3 tests passing. Now these are very basic tests. We could go into them further. So we could render more tests in here and pass different inputs and expect the inputs to be correct. We could test the functionality of the button when we click it also, but we're just going to keep it simple for now. So if I go into the key folder, and I'm going to create an underscore test underscore again. And in here, I'm going to create key.test.js and paste in here what I've copied from the previous. Again, changing the form to key. And then the key, we want to go in here, and we don't have any props being passed in, but we do have roles, so we will access the roles when selecting. So I will delete the props here, and we don't need this also. Renders the key correctly. So now what we want to do is create 3 tests in here. So there should be two bullet points here. We also want to not completed to be in the document. We want the completed to be in the document. And there should be only one bullet point group. So now what I want to do is get the bullet points. So const bullet points is equal to screen.get all by role. So we want to access all of the roles, and that is list. Or this could be get by role because there's only one list item, so one UL. We also want to get the list item, so const not completed is equal to screen.get all by role, this time by role because there is 2 list items. So this one is list item, and we are going to access the first index of this, so the 0 index, and then the completed is the same list item, but this time we are accessing the first index of the item. So we have selected everything now, so not completed to be in the document. So this is quite simple. We need to expect and get not completed dot to be in the document, and then same again for the completed, so completed to be in the document. And if I delete them, as we don't need them ones anymore, and because completed is going to have a style on there, I'm just going to expect completed because it is red, so expect completed to have style, and that will be the color of red. If I save, this test should pass. Okay, and I'm going to quickly screen.debug so I can see what else I can test for the bullet points. So we can test for the bullet points length, so expect bullet points dot length to be 1 because there's one UL, so dot length to be 1, and that should pass. Now if we just check why that's failed, it's undefined. So what we need to do is we need to change this to get all by role, and now if I save, it is now passed. And just an extra check on there, it shouldn't be dot not to be 2. And now if I save that, that is passed as well. Okay, so now we need to create a test for the to-do component, and we'll keep this one quite simple. It's just going to test for the title to see if that's rendering, so this component here. So create a new folder, underscore double underscore tests, enter, and then so I'll just copy this across, new file. This is to-do.test.js and paste it in. We want to change this to to-do, renders the to-do component correctly, and all we want to do is ensure that the title displays correctly. So title displays correctly. So first off, I'm just going to screen.debug, and the best way to access the title would be const title is equal to screen dot get by text, again case sensitive, so // of the list of to-dos. Copy that across and save. So we are getting the entire application rendering, but I just want to test the H2 element as the other elements that are getting rendered across are getting tested within their own individual components. So now all I want to do is expect the title, first of all, to be in the document, to be in the document, which it will be because we can see it getting rendered on the console here at the bottom over here. And then we also want the title to have a style. And if you're unsure on the style that it has, all I would do is inspect on the document what the style it has for the H2. So here, H2, we can see it has a font weight bold, so I'm just going to copy that just to see if it actually renders the font weight as bold. So now if I save, this test should pass, which it has done. So all I'm going to do is copy this, and then the final component to test, which is we're going to have a bit more functionality on the test, is the to-do list. So if I create a new folder, underscore test, and then this one will be named to-do list.test.js. So, and I'm just going to paste this in what I already have. So to-do list. So we are rendering the to-do list component, and now I'm going to save all. We have a failed test here. So this component, it takes in some data. So we are passing in the to-dos data into this component. So we need to mock the to-dos data. So what I'm going to do here, I already have created a mocked response. So this is the response that's going to be passed in the prop. So to-dos is equal to the to-dos data. So this is a different response. So we have get the shopping, which is set as completed true, and do the washing, which is set as completed false. We also get the fetch data, which is a function. So that is going to be equal to a function. So I'm just going to call it jest.fn, which is a mocked response for a function. So there are a few things that I want to mock on here. So first one is close icon, which is what I want to test. I also want to test the first to do, and I also want to test the second to do, because they will have different visuals on them, because completed is false on one and completed is true on the other. So the close icon, I want to get access to the close icon. So what I'm going to do is give this a test ID. So delete icon, and the documentation for this is in React testing library. So React testing library. So if we go in here, we have access to all methods. So on here, I want to test ID or get by. So if I go on here, they have a cheat sheet on here where we can see what is the best approach. And as you can see here, it's not recommended to use test ID. It should be used as a last resort, but I'm just showing you how to use it. So if we go on to delete icon, and data test ID is equal to close, I'll just call it close, like so. So now, if I do const close icon is equal to green dot get by test ID, and because we've set it as close, like so, we now have access to the test ID. And if I now save, what I now expect is the close icon to be in the document first of all. So expect the close icon to be in the document. So if I now save, we should get an error, which we do. So the error is because there are multiple test IDs of close in there, because we are rendering two to-dos. So all I want to do is either use the first index, and that will only get the first index, but here it says if we use all by, so if I just use all by instead, so now the close icon should be in the document. So now we have an array of two data test IDs. Now we get the access to the first index of all by, which is correct. So close icon, or this could be named as first close icon, so it makes more sense that way. And then I want expect first close icon to have style, and if I go back into my app, this icon here, the span, should have the style of cursor pointer. Now if I save, that should pass because we have that style on there. I also want to access the first to do, so const first to do equal to screen dot get by text of the first one says get the shopping, so I'm just going to get it by text here, and I'm going to access the second to do as well, and this one is do the washing. So we need to test the first one first of all. So I always do the to be in the document test. So first to do should be in the document, and then also the second to do should be in the document, and then the style. So you can go into more depth, but I just want to keep it quite simple for this video. So again, second to do should have a certain style. So because one's completed and one's not, they should have different styles. So the conditional render on here, so if it is completed, it should have red, and text decoration should have a line through. So that's what we want to test. If I go into here, and then the color should be red for the first to do, I think, because completed is true. So yep, that's right. So color is red, and then also the text decoration should have a line through because it is true. So all I want to do is copy this for the second to do, just to see if the test fails, which it should do because expected color red on the second to do. So if I just comment that out and then just run the test, it should pass because the first one is completed true. So all I need to do now is these tests here. So the second one, because the completed is false, we now just need to put the dot not in there. And now if I save, all of the tests are now passed. So that means our application is all complete. I'm just going to remove the screen.debug in there and renders to do this correctly. So each component within our app now has a test in there along with the app.js file. So if I now save everything, and if we test the app, we have an app here and an API backend with 3 to-dos on there, which are correctly rendered on the page. If I was to delete a to-do, the second to-do, it is now gone. And if I refresh that, the second to-do is gone. If I was to add a to-do, so added new to-do and enter, it has now added to the top of the page. And if I refresh my API, it's also added there. If I was to click this is complete, it would have a line through to say it is completed. And again, this would change to true now if I refreshed. And also we are mapping through each to do on the API, and we are rendering it onto the page. If you can please like and subscribe my video, that would be really appreciated. And I hope this video has helped you a lot.